Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, we're going to look at J.D. Vance's lame ass response to the young Republicans and all the racism and things that they were doing in that chat they were on. I believe it was a Telegram chat where they spent their time being racist instead of strategizing about what they wanted to do for the Republican Party. So JD Vance responses, they were just kids. When somebody ranges from the age of 24 to 46 years old, that's not a kid. And see, this goes back to me telling you these folks can never be good leaders because everything they do in their leadership is rooted in racism. Because these are young people that look just like him, he's not going to come out in the media to condemn them. So, in a sense, he took the sucker's way out. So, what he pretty whenever they because they do this mess even on jobs. When somebody do something foul on a job, they'll do this mess even on, "Oh, they're just a kid." That's just another way of saying, "I ain't doing nothing about it." I know what they said, and that also tells me he don't disagree with what they said. You are the vice president of a country that have multiple different races here, and that's your response? Back when Donald Trump selected JD Vance as his running mate, I heard back then that he had terrible people skills, and folks did not feel he was the one to be picked for VP. But I said, "You know what? Donald Trump don't have no good people skills either. Quite frankly, very few of these men do." So, I'm not surprised that how you doing, LVZ? I'm not surprised after hearing that, and look, I don't expect nothing decent from JD Vance or people like him, so they can't disappoint me because I was not looking at them as somebody that's going to do the right thing in the first place. This man ain't going to do no right thing. So yeah, so he did what he did. Oh, these are kids. Okay, that's the sucker's way out, JD Vance. And in my opinion, he made the situation worse. He just made it worse. So, the one LVZ, thank you so much for your super chat. Peckerwood's looking older than me, talking about their kids, not even in dog years where they kids. You right about that, brother. You are right about that. You kids. So anyway, we're gonna look at what JD Vance said, plus how people responded to what he said. And like I said, he could have made the situation kind of I think if he would have went the opposite direction, he could have simmered this whole thing down. But no, as far as I'm concerned, his response is a double down on what those kids, "Yeah, they're kids, they're kids." No, when somebody is, how did they get fired from jobs and they're kids? Many of them have gotten fired from jobs. Okay. I don't think they were hiring kids at their place of employment, JD Vance. But like I said, I don't expect nothing decent from people like him. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can get started. Okay, y'all, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Wow. JD Vance goes on to the Charlie Kirk show, right out of all places, and actually validates and vindicates the young Republicans who were caught in that political article spewing anti Semitic, racist, xenophobic, just pure hatred, right? JD Vance is actually saying they should be allowed to do what they're doing.
Focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat. Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like I'm gonna tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS. We're not going to allow the worst moment in a 21-year-old's group chat to ruin a kid's life for the rest of time. That's just not okay. Like, we live in a digital world. This stuff is now etched in stone online. We're all going to have to say, you know what? No, no, no. We're not doing this. We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, takes the cake, right? JD Vance doesn't see anything wrong with what's going on. And did you catch what he was saying about be careful what you put it in a text message? Excuse me. Have we not forgotten about what happened when Pete Kegsbreth and you were in that one group text, maybe others, leaking classified information? Give me a break. You see, it's real clear. If you are a Trump supporter, what you're basically saying is you want to be allowed to spew hatred, vile rhetoric, and you don't want to experience any of the consequences that might go with that, which to me is the most bizarre thing ever. Why not just be a good person? Why not actually practice being held accountable for your actions? JD, do the right thing. You are in a position of leadership as the vice president. And I get it. You want to be the next king like Donald Trump. And you believe that you have to sell out the entire country in order to get that. What are you going to get? You're not going to get love. You're going to get more hatred, champ. Be a person of moral character, be a person of integrity, and actually lead by example and tell these kids out here, especially this young generation that's coming up, tell them the difference between right and wrong. And it is really wrong for them to be thinking it's acceptable to behave the way that they are behaving. But on the other hand, I get it. You can't say anything to them because they'll look at you like you're a hypocrite. They'll ask you, why are you supporting Donald Trump when you know he is in those Epstein files? And they actually mentioned it, right? Which was even more bizarre. They know Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and they also know Donald Trump won't really do anything or say anything to them because he's busy covering up for the Epstein files. So, I guess you're doing what you can do in the situation you're in, right? If you speak up, you'll be a hypocrite. It's all making sense now.
So the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, saw text messages from Republicans, members of his party who hold political office throughout the country. In those text messages, they called Black people watermelon people. In those text messages, they referred to Black people as monkeys and they wanted to see them in gas chambers. These are just a few of the jokes, according to J.D. Vance, that was exposed for the world to see. He sees no problem with these jokes, according to him, and nothing worth canceling them over. Mind you, they talked about forcing women to make love. All right, the R word. They talked about all type of stuff, how they love the mustache man, the guy that was throwing people in gas chambers.
Politico says Peter Junta, who was the chair of the New York State Young Republicans, allegedly wrote in a text message, "Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber." In another exchange, Junta reportedly responded, "Great. I love Hitler," during a discussion about backing a right-wing candidate. Vice President J.D. Vance dismissed the messages as edgy, offensive jokes.
We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat.
But reports say at least 8 of the 11 participants in the group chat are between 24 and 34 years old and include a state senator from Vermont and a federal official.
This is why I've always wondered, how is it that anybody who's not white that truly believes in MAGA just doesn't do it in silence, in the voting booth, behind the scenes, not on the front lines defending actions like this once a mirror is put up to the party? I wonder what kind of mental gymnastics some of you have to go through in order for you to defend this type of behavior. I'm not even telling you what to do. I'm just telling you to be silent about doing it. Maybe the policies affect you in a better way. Maybe, I mean, tangibles are tangibles. Maybe your life is better. Maybe on the moral cause, you have to support, you know, MAGA or the Republicans or whatever, you know, like I understand that. I'm not telling you, hey, you know, go through life not getting policies that you want done because of what's according to JD Vance jokes. But what I am saying is, like, stop being on the front lines. Like, stop it. Like, I would just do it in silence. Like these are the messages behind closed doors, behind the scenes. I wonder how the mental gymnastics is going to work in order for you to find nothing wrong with the fact that the second in command isn't vehemently denying this. I wonder if you guys are going to try and say the Democrats used to do it and this is the Democrats' fault in some way, or like how. I kind of want to know what the process is, you know, like, don't defend this crap. There's nothing to defend. You should look at him and be like, what the heck is wrong with you? So anyways, it's like you're supporting somebody that clearly wouldn't support you. What?
Anyways, let me know what you think about this. Look, obviously, we roundly condemn any of that nonsense. And the Young Republican or the organization, whoever that, I don't know who any of these people are, never heard of them. Somebody posted a photo of me standing next to these guys. We were in tuxedos. Obviously, I think it was at the inauguration, and people were just coming up and asking for selfies with 1,000 of them. I don't know. I never heard of that person in my life. But whoever these young people are and whatever they're saying, if it's true, we obviously condemn that. And the organizations involved are dealing with that. That's my understanding. With regard to the swastika thing, this happened last night. A Republican congressman, allegedly one of his staffers had something in the background or something in a Zoom. That's what I heard this morning. He says that that's not his, and there's a proper investigation ongoing. And the congressman did exactly what he should have done, and that is report it. It's under investigation, and I can't comment on it any further until that's done. But I will say, obviously, that is not the principles of the Republican Party. We stand for the founding principles of America. You want me to articulate them for you right now? Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the things that lead to human flourishing. We have stood against that. We fought the Nazis. We defended that evil ideology. We roundly condemn it, and anybody in any party who espouses it, we're opposing that. I don't know how else more simply to say that.
But let me get this straight. I know good people who were doxxed and lost their jobs just for being rude about the whole CK thing in Utah. President Trump and JD Vance called us criminals just for existing on the left. All of my closest creator friends, their inboxes were flooded with threats, including some that had to be reported to the FBI. I'm sure Kash Patel will take care of those. MAGA Republicans posted on Twitter declaring open war on us. By the way, I'm a suburban dad. I have a pet jumping spider. Foreign students lost their visas. They lost the right to pay us to learn here. Trump is ordering his Justice Department and installing loyalists at the IRS, force charges on people that are thinner than the greasy tissues stuck inside Donald's tidy whities. Are they oversized oranges, baggy brownies? All as part of a Chernobyl-style meltdown over unpleasant speech regarding a controversial figure. And now that 28,000 text messages were released from conversations between Republican Party officials across the country, people who are not the future of the Republican Party, they are the Republican Party. Because remember, this organization was for adults 18 to 40. JD Vance is 41. He only aged out last year. These Republican Party insiders are casually praising the mustache man while insulting the 20 million people who perished at his hand, including 2/3 of all European Jews. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, Cabbage Patch Clancy says,
Kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes.
Wait, JD, I don't fully understand because only a month ago you said.
But we do believe in civility. And there was no civility in the celebration of political assassination.
Actually, you know what? I'm just going to cut you off, Chuck. Because if you're going to hypocritically lie, you don't deserve access to my audience.
JD Vance is just showing you how they are behind closed doors. What have we been telling you for centuries? That's why we kept telling you racism is systemic. It's about these people that smile in public and behind closed doors create policies and oppositions against those they feel are beneath them. Now, see, I don't feel like this guy.
And now we're just saying the quiet parts out loud, aren't we? We are just okay with the way the world is, with these ignorant, stupid, fucking white people putting their racism on display. Let me tell you.
I'm going to tell you why I'm not bothered the way I can be is because this is what we want. We want them to expose what's in their hearts. For centuries, they kept denying America isn't racist. You guys are just lazy. America isn't racist. You're just victims. Now how they feel behind closed doors is coming out. That's what you want. You want the truth to come out. And then Vance wants to brush it off like, oh, these were kids behaving badly. Those were not kids. And it's time for you to stop brushing off this demonic, wicked activity that goes on behind doors. And those are the ones who go out in public and do the mass shootings. That's the problem. You keep protecting and coddling these white racists who have a psychotic tendency.
The president is doubling down on his defense of the young Republicans involved in a leaked chat that used hundreds of slurs and joked about slavery, gas chambers, and rape. On social media, J.D. Vance says that he refused to join the pearl-clutching and played whataboutism with Democrats. But after a night to sleep on it, this is how he described the Republican operatives, at least one of whom is an actual elected official.
Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
Now, keep in mind, the texters referred to Black people as monkeys and watermelon people. They fantasized about raping enemies and driving them to suicide. They supported slavery and sending political opponents to gas chambers to, quote, watch people burn now.
Vance is not the only one with that dangerous mindset. Brush them off. Brush it off. They're just kids. They were just doing harmless jokes. Yes, they were in bad taste. They were vulgar, but they're harmless. Those are grown-ass men who need to be held accountable. That word that you guys love to use for other folk, the problem, folks, those weren't just harmless words. Those are words that they use to create racist policies. Those are words that they use to deny Native Black Americans home loans, business loans, whatever they can do to interfere in our progress. That's what they've done in private.
These are the faces of the Young Republican Leaders Group, whose group chat got exposed for using thousands of pages worth of racist rhetoric, racist remarks, and wanting to incite violence against politicians. Well, the vice president came on TV and said that we have to just let this go. We shouldn't be chastising or canceling kids for saying things that, that they're just stupid saying.
By focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat, grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chat. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And it's something.
Mind you guys, these people are in their 30s. They're not children. They are fully grown adults who espouse these views that are being protected by the administration. Let's go through some of their greatest hits. Dropping the M-bomb, mentioning Hitler, mentioning Nazis, mentioning gas chambers, calling us monkeys and the watermelon people, threatening to gas people, making light of gas chamber, or talking about watermelon and fried chicken and using the word wiener as if it is just status quo for their everyday language. Like I said, it takes so much effort to be racist, to wake up and think about Mexicans or think about Black people all day. Like, that's why you're aging so badly and you look like melted mayonnaise.
That's your chat. Well, we can talk about it. Do you condemn it? I want to talk about it. Wait, so when they said no, you won't, so you're like J.D. Vance, you just won't condemn this? Well, I actually had it on the show today. We had a whole conversation. You guys can all condemn this, right?
You need to be focused about your looks, looking better, and taking care of your health, because I don't know what country you think you're leading in your 30s when you look 45. These things cannot be normalized because these people obviously have reach and they're quote unquote leaders of the young Republicans. And to be protected from the top down at this level is really, really crazy. And like I said, you guys need to be worrying about your look.
This comes on the heels of another Politico report about the discovery of a series of racist, anti-Semitic, and violent messages exchanged by members of young Republican organizations. More tonight from CNN's John Foreman.
Calling Black Americans monkeys, watermelon people, and the N-word, flinging homophobic and bigoted slurs, dark jokes about gas chambers, and rape for opponents, even praise for Adolf Hitler. Politico says it found hundreds of examples in 7 months of online chats between branch leaders of the Young Republican National Federation in 4 states, mostly men, but including at least one woman. The national group's quick response: "We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. Top Democrats want more."
Kick them out of the party. Take away their official roles. Stop using them as campaign advisors. There needs to be consequences. This bullshit has to stop.
4 people have reportedly lost their jobs and 2 have apologized, but the potential political damage remains. For years, the GOP has fought accusations it too easily embraces favored status for white Americans, is too cozy with white supremacists, and too often makes excuses for bigoted behavior. To be sure, President Donald Trump has spoken up against all that.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy.
But he also frequently invokes imagery and insults many consider patently and purposely offensive. Pocahontas, Pocahontas. Vice President J.D. Vance responded to the Fresh scandal with a dose of "what about," citing violent language in a text by a Democratic contender for Attorney General in Virginia.
I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
The ages of all those on the text chains are unknown, but the Young Republicans group is for 18 to 40-year-olds.
I think the vice president could have really used this moment as a learning moment, encouraging these young men and women to, denounce what they've said, to move on and be better.
It is not entirely clear how Politico obtained these text chains, but this is clear. These were young Republicans eager to move up in their party, and based upon their own words, they did not think that this would get in the way. Anderson?
Kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do.
So that's Vice President J.D. Vance talking about the leaked text from the Young Republicans group chat, the one where they were saying the most disgusting, vile, racist stuff. And he keeps calling them kids. He says, don't ruin a kid's life. He says, we shouldn't cancel kids for a stupid joke. And where are the kids? What kids? Are you serious right now? Let's get one thing straight. The people in the group chat, the ones who were celebrating Hitler and making a mockery of hate, were not kids. They are grown adults. The oldest is 35. The youngest is 24. A 24-year-old is a grown-up, not a kid. Last time I checked, kids can't have mortgages. They can't vote. They can't get married. They can't join the military. Or maybe under this administration they can. I don't even know anymore. I didn't know that the vice president saw me as a kid. I'm 30 years old, by the way. But I'm a kid to the vice president of the United States. Somebody please bring me my warm milk and cookies. The real victims here aren't these grown adults who said some vile shit. The victims are the people that they targeted through their texts. The victims are the children on Epstein's flight log. The ones who were actually kids, by the way, who this administration has done nothing to help. So I don't know why J.D. Vance is out here saying we shouldn't be focused on what kids say in group chats. Are the kids in the room with us? Sounds like he's just trying to protect his political allies. These people who are old enough to know better should have known better.
By focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat, grow up. I'm sorry, focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like, I'm going to tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS. We're not going to allow the worst moment in a 21-year-old's group chat to ruin a kid's life for the rest of time. That's just not okay. Like, we live in a digital world. This stuff is now etched in stone online. We're all going to have to say, you know what? No. We're not doing this. We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with it.
4 members of the National Young Republicans are out of a job this morning for participating in a private chat on Telegram that was filled with racial slurs and jokes about gas chambers and rape. Politico first broke the story. The group's board of directors denounced messages, calling them vile and inexcusable. In one of those chats, according to Politico, a state lawmaker's aide said anyone who votes no is going to the gas chamber. That person has since apologized after getting fired. Vice President J.D. Vance had this to say.
Kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And
I wanted to talk about this not just because everyone in Washington is talking about it, but because of the vice president speaking out where he did on the Charlie Kirk show, which we know has a very youthful audience.
I just want to note that some of those kids on the group chat are older than me, so
There's definitely someone in their 40s. They're liberal use of boys.
very liberal use of boys and big boys. I think that the venue in which the vice president gave those comments is kind of creating a permission structure for people to say, if Democrats aren't going to denounce Jay Jones or a figure like Jay Jones for their comments, then we don't have to denounce this language. And my question is how far does that extend?
We have so much poisonous rhetoric in our political system that it's very easy to say, okay, well, maybe that was bad, but what about this one?
Just do the right thing. What Jay Jones said was horrible. What these kids said was horrible. Creating a permission structure for people to be horrible and to be racist and homophobic and anything else, that is not what we should be doing, and that is not what our country is built upon, and it's gross that that's where our politics are headed.
Well, breaking fuck the news, and good morning. J.D. Vance brushes off racist texts by adults in Republican group chat as what kids do. J.D. Vance sought to downplay the revelation that the leaders of the group called the Young Republicans exchanged hundreds of racist text messages, including one in which grape was called epic and another in which someone wrote, "I love mustache man," as youthful indiscretions. Clearly it said, "I love" the real name, but Vance speaking on a new episode of the Charlie Kirk Show, the podcast run by colleagues of the late conservative activist, suggested that the participants in the leaked chats were much younger than they in fact are. Some of the participants are barely younger than 41-year-old J.D. Vance. The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys, Vance said. They tell edgy and offensive jokes. That's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. Yeah.
J.D. Vance woke up and decided that he was going to release a statement about the Young Republicans group chat that got leaked. It was like 30,000 messages, 3,000 pages of documents of these young Republican leaders basically saying stuff like, "Oh, we love Hitler, send the liberals to the gas chambers, we love graping women." Like, no joke, like this is all like 30,000 messages of them saying like this same thing over and over again, okay? And J.D. Vance, like I said, he released a statement today, and his response to this was basically being like, "Oh, these are just kids being edgy. These are just funny little jokes. I mean, the youth, they try to be edgy and cool, and this isn't okay, but like they're just kids." That's not true. These were not young Republican members. These were young Republican leaders. The youngest person in those group chats was 25. The youngest person in those group chats was 25 years old. The oldest was like, I think 32. These are grown adults. And that is the problem. These are not children. They know what their words mean. And just think, these are the people who are influencing and mentoring all of the young Republicans of this nation. Okay? So what do you think? They're doing this behind closed doors. They're so comfortable saying all this with each other. What do you think they're teaching the people in their organization? Like, what do you think they're going, and what do you think they're spreading? Okay, that's the problem. And then J.D. Vance saying that, oh, these are just edgy jokes. They shouldn't be taken seriously. They shouldn't have their lives ruined over this. But then Jimmy Fallon makes a joke about Trump, doesn't even make a joke about Charlie Kirk, and what happens? He gets taken off air. Okay? 3 immigrants have had their visas revoked for saying things about Charlie Kirk since his passing. This is not about what's edgy or what's cool. This is about people influencing the younger generation. Okay, this isn't, and for him to just go up and say that, it is so hypocritical and so absurd and so untruthful. Him saying that these are just kids. These are not kids. These are grown adults who are influencing and mentoring the future Republicans of our nation. Stay tuned. Follow for more. Have a great day.
I want you to remember these numbers: 35, 31, 29, 28, 27, 24. Why?
Kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. By focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat, grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But
So did you remember those numbers? Because what one of those fucking numbers did I read out are kids. In case you need a refresher, this is what he was responding to, the young Republican leaders getting caught in this messaging scheme. Let me be clear, for the Vice President of the United States to not condemn this with a fucking full throat means he accepts it. And not only accepts it, he knows that that is his fucking base. Also remember, this is the same fucking government that has got people fired and visa revoked for talking about Charlie Kirk. Give me a fucking break. Charlie Kirk's disciples and other young Republican leaders are racist? No shit. No fucking shit. That's what he spent his fucking decade fucking preaching on college campuses.
A young Republican chat group leaked their text messages. They had a group message that got leaked. It was a whole bunch of racist rhetoric.
They referred to Black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers.
It was quite disgusting, as a matter of fact. But when asked about it, J.D. Vance says,
But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do.
hey, boys will be boys. Now, the young Republican chat group, the people that's in the chat, are from 18 to 40. This thing that you're seeing right here is a group of some of the people that are in there that say some of the things that they said. So boys will be boys.
You're Vice President of the United States, and at some point you got to grow into the job.
And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
Yeah, but you're not really condemning it, are you? You're not condemning what these 30 to 40-year-olds or 18 to 40-year-old people are saying. You're not condemning what they're saying.
This is unreal. J.D. Vance is refusing to condemn the young Republican leaders who made those horrific comments in that group chat that got exposed yesterday. He posted this conversation of a Democrat who's running for AG in Virginia, saying this is far worse than anything said in that college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia, I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. In this conversation, he essentially wished that Jennifer Gilbert's children would pass away, which is obviously a terrible thing, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as what those Republicans said in that group chat. Remember, they were praising the mustache
man himself and calling for their political opponents to be put in gas chambers. They also, of course, glorified SA, calling it epic. Tim Pool had a very similar excuse, saying, I literally don't care what a bunch of college kids said in the group chat. But there were people in this group chat ranging from 18 years old to 40. As you can see right here, this guy is a 31-year-old who said he loves the mustache man and also describes himself as a seasoned political operative. But Matt Walsh's response might have been the worst one by far. He said if you're conservative and you have a problem with someone on the right, you can reach out to them privately and express your concern. Performatively attacking and denouncing your own people in public is a B move. He's saying that they shouldn't even publicly acknowledge that what these people said in that group chat is bad. How unbelievable is that? One thing coming out of this situation is very clear. The GOP is now not ashamed to show their true colors.
Oh my God, the text messages that were leaked from this Republican group chat are filled with racism and anti-Semitism. In other news, water is wet. What's also not surprising is how quickly our Vice President J.D. Vance rushed to make excuses for these racists.
The kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their life.
Oh, just kids being kids. Let's take a look. Alex Dwyer is 29. Samuel Douglas is 27. Peter Junta, 31. William Hendricks, 24. Is it just me, or do white supremacists age like fucking bananas? Joe Maligno is 35. And Luke Massaman is 24. Now, this young man has some choice slurs for Mexicans, and I really think you might want to get a 23andMe. Because, como se dice, you don't look white. But of course, J.D. Vance's excuses didn't just stop at kids will be kids.
Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet.
First and foremost, J.D. Vance and I are the exact same age. I'm 41. I'm actually older than him. I'm turning 42. And I cannot stand it when people use this, I'm old, I'm from a different time, as a way to excuse racism or other forms of bigotry, and in this instance, to label them as mistakes. Being a racist or being a bigot is not a mistake. Those are active choices. And when you diminish these active choices as mistakes for grown-ass adults, meanwhile, Black and brown children have to deal with the consequences of your racism from birth. Tamir Rice was 12 years old. Ayanna Jones was 7 years old. Mike Brown was 18 years old. Trayvon Martin was 17 years old. Who gets to make innocent mistakes as a child? Who gets to be a child in this country? Not us. Black children are adultified the moment we leave the womb. There are too many examples of Black children being murdered by the police, and the excuse is always, well, he was really tall. He looked older. I don't know. But a 29-year-old that looks a smooth 45 years old gets to be a kid for the rest of his life, even though this is someone who not only was using racial slurs and praising Hitler in a group chat, this is somebody that wants to be a policy and decision maker in this country. So yeah, ask yourself who gets to be a kid and who fucking doesn't.
First of all, J.D. Vance, they're not young. So they're in their mid-20s to early 40s. That's my understanding. So they're not kids. They're a member of a group called Young Republicans, but they're not kids. And second of all, no, it's not. No, it's not. I have 3 children. They range in age from 18 to 24. None of them. 2 of them are boys, and none of them have ever engaged in this kind of joking around. Ever. And J.D. Vance, you have children. You have a son, right? What would you do? Will you laugh it off? Your biracial son, when he starts talking about gas chambers and I'm ready to start burning them, using really offensive language of, what are you going to do, J.D. Vance? You're going to say, it's fine. It's just kids being kids. When your son is 25, 26, 40, you just outed yourself. You just outed yourself as completely okay with this kind of talk, and it's disgusting. Also, why do most of the guys in that group kind of look like J.D. Vance, if you know what I'm saying?
focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat. Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But
We have a big problem here. Look, the group is called Young Republicans, but these are not kids. These are grown ass adults, not kids.
there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids.
The Young Republicans, they span from 18 to 40 years old. So now J.D. Vance is an old guy because he's 41. And if you're 40, you're a kid, apparently.
You know, I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like,
Look, while I may agree that I am so happy the dumbass things I did as a teenager weren't on the internet, the dumbass things I did were impactful to me, not attacking other people. We didn't go around using these slurs and these terms, and if anyone in our friend group would have done that, we would have called them out right there. It does not belong here.
I'm going to tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it.
You hear that? How I heard it? Because how I heard it is J.D. Vance is teaching his kids, don't get caught. Not, hey guys, here's an example of how you don't talk about other people. Here's an example of how you don't use professional chat rooms. No. Don't get caught. And if you do get caught, it's because that scumbag told on you. Get the fuck out of here.
But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes.
These are adults. The people in this chat, 20s and 30s. These are not kids. And these are people who are in this organization to learn to become Republican politicians. And this is the behavior they are learning, clearly.
That's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And it's
How many times do we hear this, specifically about white people? We don't want to ruin their lives over one mistake. We need to overlook that because look at everything else they've done. But we're talking about a group chat where it shows how they really think about the citizens of this country, how they really think about their constituents, about how they really think about minorities and the marginalized. The fact of the matter is, the things they were saying in this group chat were rooted in nationalism, in white nationalism, and Christian nationalism, this big movement that we have in our country and is taking over our government. And if you are a Republican, I have respect for you. If you're a Republican and you see that these are not the actions of your party, I see you and I hear you. If you understand that this is white nationalism and that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are siding with it, I feel you. This is not your party. It has been taken over. And this is absolute evidence. Republican is no more.
New fallout tonight from a racist and violent group chat involving leaders of some young Republican groups, as reported by Politico. The outlet obtaining more than 7 months' worth of Telegram messages in which they say members muse about using gas chambers against political opponents. "I'm ready to watch people burn now," one person responds. Another describing rape as epic. The chat includes anti-Semitic comments and racial slurs against Black, Latino, Asian people, and other epithets used more than 250 times, according to Politico. The outlet says one person, after being told backers would support the most right-wing candidate for a leadership role, responded, "Great, I love Hitler." At another point, someone writes, "If we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked." NBC News has not independently obtained or verified the messages, which reportedly involved political advisors and strategists in New York, Arizona, Kansas, and Vermont, including a state senator there.
It's revolting, it's disgusting, it's obnoxious. It's the kind of garbage the worst kinds of people say when they think no one is watching.
Now, at least 3 people involved in the chat are reportedly out of a job. The Kansas Young Republicans deactivated, and many condemning the hateful rhetoric.
Disgusting. If they have government jobs, they should be fired. It's reprehensible.
Vice President J.D. Vance today downplaying the messages.
I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat.
In an earlier post, Vance says he refuses to, in his words, join the pearl clutching, saying what's far worse are the violent text messages that have upended Virginia politics. The Democratic candidate for Attorney General there in 2022 suggesting one of the state's top Republicans should get, quote, 2 bullets to the head. Jay Jones, days ago, apologizing.
I am deeply, deeply sorry. I should have never done it. It's very embarrassing to me, and certainly I regret it.
As for the Young Republicans chat, the national board says anyone involved should resign, and the governor of Vermont is now calling on a state senator there to do just that. That lawmaker has publicly apologized, but stopped short of stepping down. Tom?
Hallie Jackson for us.
So I pray that someone used some kind of slur on J.D. Vance, because I'm going to be the first to come on a live stream and say, well, J.D. Vance, that's just a kid being a kid. That's just a kid. Next time any slur come out or anybody say something to white people you don't like, that's going to be my response to you. Oh, well, that's a kid. I don't care if they're 65 years old. I'm going to say they're a kid. Okay, that person's a kid. So, but you know what? This is really pulling the Band-Aid off of the Republican Party. We already knew what these mofos are. They wear them ugly red MAGA hats. We know what they're about. But at the end of the day, I don't think they can rebound from this one. They might have had a glimmer of a chance if the vice president would have came out in a different way, but he pretty much patted them on the back. And no, you don't go on a group chat multiple times using slurs and you sum that up as a joke. No, that ain't no joke. They meant that shit. They meant everything they wrote down in there. That was no joke. They meant every single word. So I think he just made it far worse. But see, Donald Trump has horrible communication skills, y'all. Donald Trump can't come out and make it any better. He can't. He can't. Donald Trump got horrible communication skills. And if he does address it, don't be surprised if he sounds like J.D. Vance. Oh, well, I don't want to ruin their lives. Well, I don't know. You know, so you're more worried about them than the people they victimize. That's a typical white supremacist. Seriously, that's what that is. That is white supremacy 101. You are more worried about the perpetrator than the people they victimize. Well, J.D. Vance is just showing you what America is still all about. Yeah, if he doesn't condemn it, that's exactly what he's doing. He's agreeing with it. He's agreeing with, and then got the nerve to say, grow up. Grow up? Why are you addressing the victims like that? So that's what I'm saying. This is classic 101 racism that J.D. Vance just put on full display. Yes, he did. He just went all in. That's what he did. Okay. The one LBZ, thank you for your support from my channel, because you gave me 2 super chats. Peckerwood's looking older than me, talking about their kids, not even in dog years where they kids. Yeah. And look at JD Vance. He's 41. He looks terrible for 41. He looks terrible with that old big pie face. He looks awful. And LVZ laughing my ass off, sis. They were kids with mortgages and car notes and grandkids laughing my ass off. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, some of them got fired from their jobs. So, so they're getting a full paycheck from a full-time job and they're just kids. All right. And Cap, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you. You said, my nephew just went to the Navy yesterday. I stressed to him to stand the F by while serving this administration. Well, thank you, Cap, and thank you so much for your support for my channel. All right. And G. Bowman Jr., thank you so much for your super chat. As the creator turns their vehicles into colored disc and buildings into toothpicks, I join him in laughing at their calamity. I think you're gonna have a lot of people joining you on that one, for real. Thank you for your support for my channel. Thaddeus Peterson, thank you for your super chat. They could be gray and pushing a walker and still be called a kid, downplaying and denying until the cows come home. Yeah, and he actually, Thaddeus, he's making himself look dumb. You know, even his own people are coming out against him, calling these folks kids because their ages were published. So nobody in that group was under 18. So he looks like a fool. Thank you for your support for my channel. PM, thank you for your super chat. Those pale males are lashing out because the US is becoming less white and they're in the middle of their own racial civil war. As time goes on, there will be more revelations. B1 and Shalom, Lisa. And thank you for your support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Yeah. Like I said, this has been all in the media, y'all. So it just goes to show you that, you know, people are really dragging J.D. Vance for his response. So there you go. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I deeply appreciate it. And I do have another upcoming live stream at 3:45. I hope to see you here. Chicago, there are complaints that ICE is being very aggressive towards people they are, you know, apprehending. And when you see the video, they are. There's no doubt about it. But see, what you got to keep in mind when they advertised they wanted more agents. I read in probably like back in August that it was a lot of white nationalists joining ICE. Okay. And these cops that got fired for misconducts, those are the kind of people that just recently joined ICE. So when you have that crowd joining, yes, everything's going to turn up. It's going to become more aggressive. It's going to become more violent because they're dealing with a lot of people that don't look like them. And yeah, I mean, it's what you, isn't that what y'all want in your cops? See, you want it until it turns on you. Then all of a sudden the cops become horrible. We know how you play that game. So I hope to see you there. Everybody, please enjoy your afternoon. Shalom, family.